Hey y'all, how are we? We are back for episode 9. It's been, I guess, geez, has it been a month? I know
Yes.
it's time has been flying by. It's been a little bit of a crazy busy time in our lives. So hope everybody's doing well. I'm pretty sure that everybody's rocking and rolling and ready to get through this October into Q4, taking a look at the holiday season. Lots of things to talk about in the world of marketing. But I want to kick it off today with our company value, which Angie is what?
Fiscal responsibility and having the hard conversations.
Yeah, so this is something that, it's going to go hand in hand with our topic of today, which is budgeting and marketing. And then we're going to go and jump into the usual, which is our find things shout out at the end. But let's just start with fiscal responsibility and what does that mean? At Yazo, it's really important for us because we are a small family business, and that really means having the difficult conversations and the ability to have those difficult conversations ahead of time. There's lots of bumps in the road and unforeseen changes in the world of business, and oftentimes we overlook those things as small businesses, and they come up to surprise us from a financial perspective, and it really can impact you as a small business owner. It can impact your family. It can impact your employees if you haven't had the ability to give them a heads up on a potential change, and ultimately, while it may be difficult to have those conversations, it's really important because it helps bring that team support if there is a project or a need to find a replacement client or anything like that. Having those conversations with the team really, I think, allows everybody to take on some responsibility. And that's really important for us at Yazo. I don't know, Angie, if you want to comment at all on that, but I know it is that time of the year where everybody's looking at budgeting, and sometimes it's difficult conversations to have.
Yeah, I think it's really primarily important to say, if you're a startup and if you're a small business. I mean, I know larger businesses, they definitely have processes in place. They have CFOs, they have systems, and they really do a great job of monitoring and being aware. Although even large businesses can get themselves in trouble if they're not careful. But for that
Hmm.
startup and that small business, I think it's really super important that, like, one of the things is if you're a partnership, and obviously we are a partnership, mother and son partnership, is not taking on more debt than you could handle as partners, if
Hmm.
something were to go bad. Like, so if you have so much debt that if you were to go bad, you couldn't handle it, or you had an issue, you couldn't handle it, that can be a concern. And of course, you get to a certain level where you have to jump higher and take that bigger risk. And I get that.
Yeah.
For us, I think the value that we want to talk about is just having the value of having the difficult discussions and not sweeping it under the rug, because that
Yep.
does happen in smaller businesses and even in clients we've worked with, where everything gets swept under the rug until it's too late. And
Hmm.
I think that that is a value, is when you start your business saying, we are going to have the discussions, monetary and otherwise, even when
Hmm.
they're difficult, and we know we don't want to have that conversation, but we have to. So
Yeah.
that's a great value to make sure you have outlined in not just your marketing plan, but your overall operational strategy as you're starting. And even if you're an individual, knowing like how much you can tolerate at certain levels, um, and where you're willing to take the risk and who your partners are going to be on the financial side to take the risk with. These are all
Hmm.
things.
Yeah, and it is a time of year to do it. Obviously, taking a look at where we are in the beginning of Q4, prepping your budgets for next year. It's the time to look at the books. And I part of fiscal responsibility though is not just doing it once a year. It's keeping an eye on it, scheduling these things out if you can do it quarterly. Meet with your business partners, and if it's a positive meeting, it's a positive meeting. It's really important to keep an eye on that though, because if there is any type of downturn or unexpected change, having the foresight to know what you guys can tolerate and where you may need to make shifts is of utmost importance in business success. And don't be afraid of that. I mean, we've had our own share of difficult times at Yazo, and it's just part of doing business. I mean, that is what you sign up for as an entrepreneur. So, a lot of our clients are smaller to medium sized business. So we felt like this was a value that would resonate with y'all as well, because it is extremely important to be able to stand on fiscal responsibility for the success of your business. So at Yazo, that's just one of our company values that we wanted to touch on. But it really does go hand in hand with the overall topic of today, which is budgeting and marketing.
Yeah.
Um, So 'tis the season for budgeting.
Yeah, and I really want to kick it off because I've done a lot of these in the last, 30 years of my life, being involved either at a very large level or as a member of the team with a marketing budget. And I'm a big believer that I don't care if you're a startup or you are, a major corporation, that understanding your marketing budget, where your costs are going, and
Mhm.
then sharing it with the team members who are assigned to implement different things is super, super important. So, there are a lot of ways to look at this, and different strategists do have different belief systems with regards to like a startup. How much should a
Mhm.
startup spend? But I will say this, if you haven't done an overall financial plan, you probably can't have a marketing budget, because
Exactly.
a lot of I mean, consultants and strategists will say if you're a startup and you're going to do $100,000 in your first year, then you should be taking 6 to 12% of that and spending that on marketing. And so you're spending, let's say, 10%. You have a budget of $10,000. That way, when you work with partners, you can tell them, I have $10,000 to spend, and we need to maximize that.
Exactly. And that's the really important piece here, is being able to give that number to your team to let them know this is what we have to work within, this is the parameters, and then you can maximize that dollar. I mean, that is really important. It is difficult at times to fly blind into marketing because you can end up trying too many things. And then all of a sudden your spend is way out of what you were expecting. Um, and that happens because you didn't start with a set budget. So I think that's always, we have these conversations when we bring on new clients and we talk to folks, um, and we always ask them, what is your budget? And I know oftentimes they say, well, you tell me. Um, I can tell you what I think you should spend, but ultimately it depends on looking at your books. And to Angie's point, it's all based on revenue. So let's just start the conversation there. When we're looking at 2022 and you're going into 2023, the expectation is around nine, and the average. So we're just saying this is an average. 9.5% of your revenue is to be spent on marketing. Now, that could change based on industry. It could change on, are you B2B? Are you B2C? Are you product? Are you service? All of those things. Are you large? Are you small? Can impact that percentage of what you should do. But it's interesting because when you look back pre-pandemic or pre-COVID, that was north of 10%. It was pushing 11. It was pushing, I think it was almost pushing 12, 11 and a half at times.
12%
Um,
as a
so
recommendation.
it's now been obviously cut because of what happened during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021. Those budgets were shrunk because they just weren't sure of what was going to happen in the market, right? What were we able to do as a society? But now we're sort of seeing those things tick back up. Um, and ultimately, those things are also dependent on size. So let's talk a little bit about that, right?
Yeah.
Small business and where you should be as a small business. I just want to say one quick stat and then I want to chat about it. According to the Small Business Administration, the US Small Business Administration, small businesses should allocate anywhere between 7 to 8% of the revenue on marketing, or 10 to 12% of your net profit margin. So you can look at two different things there. Um, but that's a good, important piece to start with. And then the back half of that is, if you're a small business or you're a new business, within 1 to 5 years of your start period, you should be dedicating 12 to 20%, because this is grassroots marketing. It is getting your product, your service embedded into the community, embedded into your audience. And that takes dollars to do that early on. So I just thought this was really cool to start with.
It is, and I think, and then what you see is that slides back down. It's like a sliding scale. So as a business gets to be, a fundamental part of the community, region, or even the United States, or
Yep.
international, if they're an international company, when they become a brand name, that slides back down, and you see that resting at like 6%. Some consultants will have other numbers, but I think what's super important and what we run into is that, I've often had the conversations around profitability, because people don't,
Yep.
they're like, I don't care. I can be making 500,000 in my first year, but I don't have any profit. Um, and so I can't give you a marketing budget. So just tell me what I need to spend. And I get that, but you still want to know those numbers and have that
Yeah,
like in.
absolutely.
And so, a lot of it comes down to like, are you paying yourself anything? Well, yeah, I'm paying myself X. Well, then spend 10% of that. Like, so you have to have a place to start. So because
Yeah.
with us a lot, and I'm at this point, after doing marketing for 30 years, it's just like a conversation of, it's hard to tell you what you can do, because I can come back with a great plan for you, and I can bring in all these great partners and some of the top notch people in like Google ads, for example, but if you
Sure.
pay for it, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna like so that conversation goes back again to fiscal responsibility. Like
Yep.
we aren't going to come to you with this amazing because it's happened to us. Let's
It
face it,
has.
multiple times,
Yeah.
spending all this front end, you're learning their personas, you're learning everything they want to accomplish. You come back with a budget and they are like, I can't do any of that.
Yeah. And I think it's really important too when you go into selecting, who you want to work with, and it's an important part of the process early on. And it's both, from our end in selecting our clients and the clients end in selecting Yazoo. Those things go hand in hand. And it is a really important piece to be transparent around the budget. And the other area that you can sort of get to this number, right, is look at where you want to be from a profitability perspective. If you want to be $100,000 in profit, or if you want to do $1 million in revenue, then reverse engineer it. Let's go back and say, okay, if you want to get to a million, then in revenue, then you should be spending 7 to 8% of that revenue on marketing. And then it's sort of, we get more granular, right? So what we often do is we start at a number, or we try to start at a budget number with clients or folks, or when we have the budget review meetings, and then we drill into activity and performance, right? It's not just, okay, I'm going to give marketing 50 grand or 100 grand or 10 grand or 5 grand or whatever it is, but then let's apply those dollars to specific areas or channels within marketing that may be effective. Or taking a look, if you're a new business and you're taking a look at your competitors, where are they spending their money and are their efforts successful? So you try to mimic those things, but then you drill into the specific areas. So I thought that was really interesting too, is what are the overall big areas of spend? Because a lot of folks will tell us, well, what are other folks doing? What are other clients? Where do they spend their money with you, right? Like what's the driver? Um, I'm going to throw out some quick statistics of this. Was now a poll of 400 marketers, and Gartner did this research. But you look at percentage of um, budget and allocation in terms of a direct channel. So you have social advertising was around 10% on average. Below that is search advertising. So when you're on search, your Google search, making sure that you're doing that from a display advertising, again, a display ads that may come up, not just the search ads. Then you get into SEO, search engine optimization. So you have search advertising, which is like Google advertising, but then your SEO is on page optimization. How are you optimizing the content that lives either on your website or on your social channel so folks can find you with certain keywords or long tail phrases? That's another big spend. And then right below that, you're getting into a little bit of audio advertising, which is interesting because we talked about the importance of music in marketing recently and how that's coming back and how that trend is finding popularity in the podcast world. So there's always an opportunity to play into the audio advertising, radio, podcasts. And then you get into, of course, your content marketing, your email marketing, your regular social media piece. Those are all subsets around 7.5, 7.8, 7.6%. So it's just interesting to look at that, right? What do all of those mean? And have you guys thought about those channels? And have you been successful in the efforts that you've done this far, what you have and what you haven't done?
Yeah, I think that's amazing to see that broken down because what you can do is if you don't know where to start, you can look at research like that and use those hours.
Exactly.
If you have, $3,000 to spend a month, you can put in all those channels, you can plug in those, and then you can go to a partner like a Yazoo and you can say, look, we have $500 a month to spend on social ads.
Yep.
Help us. We have, X amount of dollars to spend. But like what happens a lot of times is it's just people coming in blind or companies coming in blind and saying, I have no idea. And then we're plugging in dollars going back and we don't, and
Sometimes it doesn't match up.
yeah. And then I think the other thing that always happens in this budget discussion is like, what can I do organically myself? And that's part of, so on the flip side, like the operational side and salaries and all that, if you have someone internally that's marketing, you're looking at them as a salary, or are they solely marketing? Like, so it depends on how you're doing your financials, where that
Yep.
amount gets plugged in.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes that comes to us where people want us to do the work, but they think they're only going to pay for like the ad dollar piece.
Yeah.
The work hour piece for us, where we have to try to explain to them like that kind of falls into your consultant dollar.
Yep.
or your bucket of what you would have to pay someone internally, a lot of times we're less expensive than if they had to pay a full-time person, right? We're a lot less
Yep.
expensive. But they have to allocate those dollars and then learn and separate, like, the hours I'm spending to post on your social platforms is not the same as the dollars if you want me to now turn that into an ad, because now I
Hmm.
ad dollars. So that is a confusion normally for the startups and the smaller businesses that haven't done a lot of marketing or don't have a marketing expert on their team.
Exactly.
Conversation comes up because they're like, well, we're paying you X amount of dollars per month. None of that's going to your ad bucket. We're giving you 20 hours of work or 10 hours of work for that. So yeah, great conversations to have. And the more honest you are, this is also a fiscal responsibility conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. And to take it the next step into budgeting, right? Then there's also, as we talked about, the B2B to the B2Cs. So do you do direct sales? Do you do indirect sales? Do you do products? Do you do services? So again, all of these things are a piece of the puzzle when determining your overall marketing budget. So just thought it was a really, really great topic for us because tis the season. It's Q4. We're start of October. A lot of our clients are asking us for, our budgets as we get into 2023, and we're having those conversations with them of what will work within their financial framework. So it was timely. And if you guys have questions, whether you're working with us or not, and you want to talk about, what should we be spending, or I have a new product, or I'm launching a new campaign, I just don't know where to be or what to spend. We are an open book, and we love starting with those conversations because it really does allow for some constructive feedback, and it really is sort of eye-opening sometimes for us, and also for clients when it comes to budgeting. So you guys have comments, you have questions around budgeting, feel free to drop them in, and it's always something that we can chat offline on, or take as a topic for the next Find Things Refreshed. But
Yeah, and send us a message. We can send you what those categories are from the research.
exactly.
Here's the categories. So, because sometimes what you'll do is you'll say, well, we know radio advertising wouldn't work for us. So we cross that one off.
Yep.
And you go down through the categories, and then you might end up with 3 or 4 categories that you know would work for you. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, just message us. We can send you over some of that via email.
Well, then we're going to shift the conversation to the fun part, which all of it's fun for us, but the really, really fun part is the shout outs, right? Taking a look to share what we find as Find Things, whether it's a client, a product, something out in the community, or a project that we've worked on. But this one is super timely, particularly for those folks that are in the Blair County area, or receive the Altoona Mirror. We are helping to celebrate the 100-year anniversary at Bishop Guilfoyle. Um, Pretty crazy to think about when you talk about 100 years for anything. I mean, that's a long, long time to look back at history, but they've been a successful educational institution in the area. We've obviously had family that have gone there, but Yazoo has had a part on the marketing of that, and had the ability to dig into, like, what does the 100-year anniversary look like, come up with concepts and going back and forth with the team. But ultimately, there was an insert in the Altoona Mirror today about the 100-year anniversary and sort of the history of BG. And we were really excited to hopefully share that with everybody that gets the Altoona Mirror. I don't know, Angie, do you have a physical copy handy by chance?
I don't have it on in hand yet. I have one waiting,
Okay.
but no, I don't have it in hand.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. We got to work on that 100-year anniversary logo. We wrote some of the articles, worked hand in hand with their internal team, which they did a fabulous job. Lisa Jordan,
Yeah. Shout out to their team. Absolutely.
with leading that charge. The Altoona Mirror did a great job working with them. So I just, I say, like, if you're, I'm a alumni, so I'm an alum. So, and 2 of my sons are alums. So it's just a great shout out to be able to say, if you're in this region, you're looking for a private school for your kids, and you're tired of some of the stuff you're dealing with elsewhere, and you just want to see a different model of education. They're doing some phenomenal
Yeah.
things with academies, with kids graduating with,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
college degrees, with just a tremendous ability to sort of craft the direction of your education early on. There's some really awesome news coming, that's already been shared, where they're now going to be offering the full scope of education, first through 12th. And it's just an amazing opportunity. So if you're in the area, I say contact them. Um,
Hmm. Keep an
and
eye out for the insert. Take a look at that. I mean, it speaks to the history of that school.
And if you are an alum, I would say, or you're a donor, you want to get involved in their 100-year campaign because you get a commemorative cap, which is super cool, and
Yes, it is.
and yeah, you donate $100, you get a commemorative cap, and you're part of keeping that tradition of excellence, which is Centum Annos Excellentia. I think but it means 100 years of excellence, building on foundation, and that's something to be proud of. And
Absolutely.
it's that 100 years of something and that standard of excellence that the school provides. So big shout out to Bishop Guilfoyle High School
Yeah.
on your 100-year anniversary.
And thank you for thinking of us at Yazoo and including us in that process. I mean, I know we've had a blast working on projects with them and being involved in what they're doing from a marketing side. It's fun to get creative, but it's fun to be a part of those success stories. So we appreciate that, and the entire BG family out there. But to all of our Fine Things attendees, thank you again for tuning in and diving on in with us. We really, really appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns in what you're doing in your marketing efforts, drop us a note. Or if there's a topic that you would like us to explore and cover in one of the future episodes, drop us a comment. We love, hearing from y'all, and we appreciate you guys accepting us into the community out there. So thank you for everything. Have an awesome rest of your Thursday. And oh,
Wait,
one more thing.
also, I say always do it the wrong way. Are a married man now.
Yeah, I am.
Married
I
man
am.
is our last Fine Things episode. So
It is. It's been a crazy, crazy time, and I've been blessed to have the family that's given me the ability to step away for a little bit. But back in the driver's seat, and we're rocking and rolling. But yeah, it's fun to be a married man. It's fun to say my wife. I will say that for sure.
married.
All right, y'all. Thank you again for tuning in. Have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Later, y'all.